Hey everyone, Ivo once again. I wanna welcome everyone back to another franchise that I'm gonna start reviewing, and of course, today I'm going to review and talk about is the Fast and the Furious, which came out in 2001. Was came out and was released, and this is actually the first movie in the series, and there was 10 movies so far, and of course I'm going to review the first one. Another franchise of mine that I really enjoy, because there's some of the Fast and the Furious movies that I really love, and some are they're just like the films, and some of the movies are just that I don't like. But this is the first one that I actually rewatched last night. And like I said, I'm gonna start doing the Fast and the Furious franchise, because those are the series I haven't done before, and I watch them every year. And you know, and the first one, I mean, what can I say, was released from Universal Pictures in 2001. It's PG-13 movie. It's an action movie. It's a heist movie. It's Point Break from Keanu Reeves was inspiration for this movie. Point Break was inspired, actually, this movie was Point Break was inspiration for making this movie. Directed by Rob Cohen, who did a perfect job directing. He directed Daylight. I reviewed the movie with Sylvester Stallone and, of course, Sage Stallone. His son was in the film, which is a film that I really like and I enjoy. I really like Daylight a lot, much better than Rocky 5. And yeah, Rob Cohen, he directed this movie. This is the first in the franchise. And like I said, it's PG-13 movie. It was Point Break was inspiration for making this movie, and of course was written was actually was written by Gary Scott Thompson, Eric Bergquist, and David Ayer. David Ayer, he directed Street Kings, and I reviewed Street Kings. And of course, the Fast and the Furious was actually loosely based on an article in magazine about street clubs that race Japanese cars late at night, which of course was inspiration by this magazine. I think it was 1998, the magazine in which about street racers, that are actually racing during night the cars, the Japanese cars, and that was really inspiration. And Paul Walker, rest in peace. He passed away on November 30, 2013, after he completed Fast and Furious 6, and they were actually shooting Fast and Furious 7, actually Furious 7. They were shooting the 7 movie, and he got killed in a car accident, which was actually very sad. He's one of my favorite actors, and Paul Walker was always my favorite character. I mean, Brian O'Connor, that played by Paul Walker, he was always my favorite character. He always was my favorite character since the first time I saw this movie, back in 2002, I think it was back in 2001. I saw this movie on VHS tape. The first and the second movie were released on VHS tape. The next sequels, they were actually released on DVD and later in Blu-ray. But I did saw, this was the first movie I saw. One of my best friends from high school recommended me this movie, because he went to mechanical engineering high school, and he was telling me about this movie about the fast cars, and I was really inspired. And it was actually by Universal Pictures. This was actually a different action film. And of course, the Fast and Furious stars Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, I think I said Jordana Brewster, Rick Yoon, Chad Lindenberg, and Johnny Strong, and directed by Rob Cohen. And like I said, it's the first movie in the franchise. And of course, Vin Diesel stars as Dominic Toretto. Now, the movie is actually, it's not about fast cars. It's not about fast cars or about street racing, because every night in Los Angeles, is actually illegal street racing. That you see a group of people who are racing on the street for the money, and the winner gets the money, and sometimes even gets the car and respect. And Dominic Toretto is actually played by Vin Diesel. That's Dominic Toretto. He's actually the most fastest and fiercest street racer ever. On Nitro, on Nitro Fuel, he's the most fastest street racer with the fastest car ever. So far, he's undefeatable. A new young racer shows up in the town and challenges Dominic Toretto, and that's of course Brian O'Connor. But even tough, Brian O'Connor, who works now as a shop, and he always flirts with Mia Toretto, which is actually she's actually the sister of Dominic. She's actually sister of Dominic, and his gang. And of course, he goes and races he goes in the race, but loses the race. He actually goes and loses the race, and of course, because he actually owns a car to Dominic Toretto, and when the cops shows up, try to arrest illegal street racers, everyone escape, but they try to catch Dominic Toretto, but of course, Brian O'Connor saves him and brings him home. But first, they actually meet another gang leader, and that's of course Johnny Tran, played by Rick Yoon. And of course, there's tons of action, and because Brian Spillner, he actually he works for Dominic. He starts having a romance with Mia, and also he's a huge rival and has a huge fought with Vince, played by Matt Schultz. Vince is another friend and another gang member of Dominic Toretto, and of course Letty Ortiz, played by Michelle Rodriguez. She was in Lost season 2, which then they killed off her character because they didn't like her attitude. But she's actually girlfriend of Dominic Toretto. But what the movie is actually about is not about the gangs or street racing. It's actually about a heist. Yes, this is actually a heist about $6 million. A fast drivers with Honda Civics at night, they are robbing trucks full of equipment, and every time they steal this equipment, it's actually $1.8 million. They are stealing electronic equipments, including TVs, stereos, VCRs, DVD players, everything that's electronic. They stealing, and so far they stole $6 million. And the cops doesn't know who did that. FBI is trying to get closer, but no leads. So there's one man who's about to stop the robbery and stop the gangs, and that's one man, and that's of course Brian O'Connor. He's undercover cop, played by Paul Walker. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. I miss him so much. I miss you so much. You're one of my favorite actors. Paul Walker, rest in peace. He's Brian O'Connor. He's undercover cop. He works with the FBI, and because he wants to be a detective, he goes as a young street racer in order to he goes as a young street racer in order to infiltrate in a gang, and that's of course Toretto gang, because he's under suspicion that Dominic Toretto is probably behind the robbery. But there are actually 3 gangs who are street racers. Those 5 guys in Honda Civics, fast cars, who are doing that are actually street racers. And there are 3 gangs. One of the gang is named Hector, the other one is Johnny Tran, and the third one is Dominic Toretto. And Brian O'Connor goes with these guys in which he goes and loses the race, and in order to repay him back, he starts working for Dominic Toretto, and he starts working with Dominic Toretto, and that's actually is, but Brian O'Connor has 36 hours to find out who is doing that, since he's gonna lose his job. He has 36 hours because they go and arrest Johnny Tran, played by Rick Yoon, and turns out he wasn't the one. They got the wrong suspects, and of course his supervisor, his supervisor officer is actually definitely sure that Dominic Toretto is the one that's doing that, because Dominic Toretto went and he broke the guy's jaw when his dad was killed as a street racer. And I actually love the philosophy of this film. Yes, how Vin Diesel talks about his life, or his lines, which I love that. And by the end, on the street war races, Brian O'Connor, he finds out that Dominic is doing those robberies, and he tells to Mia everything, that he's undercover cop, and he has no choice. He has to stop them, or there's gonna be a bloodbath, because the drivers are promising blood for blood. The next person that tries to rob them, they're gonna get nothing but back shells. So Brian O'Connor has to do whatever it takes to stop them. And he goes with Mia, and there's a great sequence, in which Vince jumps on a truck, and the guy uses a shotgun with 2 barrels, starts shooting at the guy. And he also hits him right through the kidney, shoots him, and Dominic, his gang, they try to stop him. There's another scene in which Jesse, played by Chad Lindenberg, who challenges Johnny Tran for a race but loses his car, and he escapes, and that's another scene. Then of course Brian and Mia, they go with the car, and I love the scene which mostly Paul Walker did his own stunts. He went on the car, jumps on a truck, and saves Vince, puts them on the car. They escape while the driver starts shooting at them. Pretty good scene, pretty good effect in my opinion. Actually was real. I don't think that was CGI. I think it was actually a real professional stunt drivers who did that scene on the truck. But yeah, and of course, now Dominic finds out that he's a cop, and he has to go because Vince goes to the hospital because he's shot. Brian goes and saves his life. Then Brian goes to Toretto's house, and you see Tom Toretto with a shotgun, like a badass he was. He walks with a fucking shotgun and tells him, put away, I'm not going to shoot you, but I'm gonna put the gun away, and says, look, Johnny Tran is looking for Jesse. He's my family, he's the only one got. In the time Jesse shows up and apologizes he goes and apologizes to Dominic. In that time, Johnny and Lance go with Uzis and start shooting with silence, and they kill Jesse, and they're fire over 30 barrels, 30 shots right on this guy, on Dominic, Mia, and of course Brian, and the kid, gets killed. He gets killed, and now now Brian goes after them because they shot at him. He goes after them, and Dominic, like a badass, he goes in his old car that he was driving in high school, goes like a badass he is, drives the car, and a lot of scene he goes and hits the guy. He goes and hits the guy Lance, played by Reggie Lee. He was later in Prison Break season 2 as Mr. Kim, and he hits him, and he falls down down the hill, but he's still alive. And I love the scene when Paul Walker drives, and of course Johnny Tran starts shooting at him, and Paul Walker goes with his car. He goes with his car, turns around, goes with his car, shoots him and kills him right in the kidney. He shoots him and kills him. Really good scene. He falls down the motorcycle, He shows up at that time. Of course, Dominic shows up. In John Trent's death, and I love when Paul Walker says, "Call 911, you call 911," and he goes after the car, goes chasing on him. And there's a scene. I probably think that kind of CGI. But it kind of looks like the jump, it wasn't CGI through the train. They both jumped with the car, and there was actually a real stunt driver who goes and hits the truck, and the car flips over. That is a really professional stunt, and falls down and lands on the floor. And that time, I love the scene when of course Brian O'Connor lets him go. It's actually understandable why he let him go, because he owned him a car. He was still owning him, so he let him go. I know I don't agree with that, but he let him go. And then, of course, the movie ends. It has great street races, great some action, like Johnny Tran and his cousin Lance shows up with uses and blows up the car. And because of the noise, because of nitro fuel, explodes. Great explosion. Kind of looks like CGI, but still a good one. And the acting performance, Paul Walker, was awesome. And another thing, The Fast and the Furious to me is better than Point Break, because Paul Walker's character, Brian O'Connor, at least he didn't get his partner killed, unlike Keanu Reeves. His weakest performance by Keanu Reeves, because I enjoy movies like Speed, Constantine, John Wick films, the Matrix flicks, Street Kings. Those movies I more enjoy for Keanu Reeves. But Paul Walker was awesome. Paul Walker, he chose this role because he liked the movie Donnie Brasco with Johnny Depp, and he read the script that it was actually about undercover cop. He liked that undercover cop, the story, so he chose that role. So yes, he chose the role. So he chose the role as Brian O'Connor. And the first time I saw him, I still have a VHS tape home, but the first time I saw this film, I was a huge fan of Paul Walker because he's a good guy. Brian O'Connor is a good guy. He has to stop those robberies, and I really enjoy, some great fast cars. And also the cast, which I haven't spoke about. The cast, Ja Rule was in this movie. They asked him, the Universal Pictures, the studio asked him if he would love to return in the sequel, but he said no, he didn't return. But the first one, the franchise, is really good one. But nowadays that they're making the Fast and Furious movie, especially Fast and Furious 9, that movie was horrible, awful. What they're doing nowadays is just disgrace. But watching this back, 20 years ago, okay, it's been now 21st years ago, because this was released in June 22, 2001. This movie, this is how you do a film. And directed by Rob Cohen, was, of course, the first movie directed in the franchise. The budget cost $38 million. It made worldwide $207 million. So it was still successful. And also the other cast, we also have Ted Levine as Sergeant Tanner. Sadly, he doesn't return in any of the sequels. Ja Rule, he was Edwin. He was one of the street racers. No, he wasn't with Dominic Toretto. Reggie Lee as Lance and Rick Yoon as Johnny Tran as the bad guys. They did a great job. As the villains, I really enjoyed them. Tom Barry played Agent Bilkins, FBI, in which Brian O'Connor was working with him. And Noel Guglielmi played Hector, the other member of the gang, in which Brian O'Connor befriends him. And of course, there's another girl that was Monica Tamayo. She played Monica, in the street race, in the open scene. Actually, not the open scene. When you see the first street race with the Dominic Toretto, Brian and Edwin and another guy, because there were 4 street racers. When Monica says that's another girl, Sally the actress, she was only once in the film. and she says, if you win, this is gonna be yours. And another girl, she points another girl, and the guy, Edwin, he loses. Brian fries whole engine because he clicked on the NOS way too much soon. Lucky he didn't explode because it was too much NOS in it. And lucky the car didn't explode, so that was really luck for Brian O'Connor. But so he fried everything, the whole engine. He destroyed, damaged the car, which was really good one. But yeah, and when of course there's a scene when Brian beats Edwin and he says, "No, Monica!" and he's the last one. I think Brian is the last one. And he says, "You're gonna win," but he's the last one on the end. And yeah, so that was actually worse. He was the last one. And and then it says, "Hey Monica, what's your problem, nigga? You don't win." And he says, "Fuck you then, fuck you then." I love that scene. "Hey Monica, what's your problem, nigga? You didn't win." And he goes, "Fuck you, man, fuck you." I love that scene. Ja Rule did awesome. I mean, he did even a few soundtracks. Ludacris, he later returned on stage in part 2. But yes, but Ja Rule was really good one to me as Edwin, and I also do love the soundtracks. I love "Watch Your Back" by Benny Cassette. He was that's the scene when Paul Walker and Matthew Schultz did a stunt fight, and it was actually very choreographed. They actually were really careful choreographed. I think there was a few problems in the end. On the end, they were just more careful. They just didn't care that much anymore. They were just more careful. But yeah, it's the fight scene when Vince becomes jealous and starts fighting. For now I'm gonna go to Fat Cheeseburger. Tuna bullshit. No one likes tuna, and they go and fight each other. And that's the song. Watch your back. Watch your back. I love the scene. And Mia says, "Dom, I'm tired of shit. Go out there." Why she'll put in a sandwich, "Dom." And of course, later she says, "Dom," and they go start fighting each other. I love the scene. Paul Walker like a badass swings at Matt Schultz. Love that scene. Really good movie, But yes, I love the soundtrack. Watch Your Back by Benny Cassette. I love Furious Ja Rule. But now be careful. When before the first race starts, there's a song which is also the title of this movie, The Fast and the Furious. And there's two versions of which sings Ja Rule Furious, but you have to actually find the real tone, the real soundtrack, because there's another soundtrack that doesn't even mention the Fast and the Furious in it. And last night it was kind of really hard to find the real soundtrack for the song, because I enjoyed this is my favorite song, The Fast and the Furious. And played by Ja Rule, which I really love that song, but not the other version that he sings. No, the right one in the movie, which I enjoy. Of course, those are actually those two that I enjoy. Those two songs, Furious by Ja Rule and Watch Your Back by Benny Cassette. And what I love about the movie is actually the screenplay and the story, because like I said, The Fast and the Furious to me is better than Point Break. I enjoy this movie much more than Point Break. I think that this is better than Point Break because it's it's actually understandable why he let the criminal go, because he felt that he was actually owning him. It's just understandable why he did it. Why Brian let him go, because in Point Break wasn't understandable why Keanu Reeves just threw the badge and doesn't. I don't know why he throws the badge or why he wouldn't let the guy go. He shouldn't. And yeah, I really enjoyed The Fast and the Furious. I really like the film, but it's not my top 5. I don't think this is in my top 5 because there are other sequels that I enjoy more. I say that Fast 5 is definitely is actually my favorite film. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift I enjoy. I enjoy Furious 7. Too Fast, Too Furious. The sequel I love to death. I love more the sequel. The Furious 6 I enjoy. There are other films, in the franchise that I enjoy, but I really like this movie. It's a really good one. This is the movie that started the franchise. After this movie, there were 9 sequels. They're planning to do another shitty sequel. Fast 9 sucked. Now, this is the line from Brian O'Connor, because like I said, Paul Walker, Brian O'Connor, undercover cop, is my favorite character in all the franchise. He always was my favorite character. And also my friend, another thing, Vin Diesel didn't kill anyone this movie. He didn't kill anyone. But Patrick Swayze was killing and murdering people in Point Break. In this movie, he didn't kill Vin Diesel, he didn't kill anyone. And my friend said, I love Vin Diesel's character, Dominic Toretto, because he didn't kill anyone, and I agree with him. He didn't kill anyone. And it's definitely a decent character. And they're actually still in the segments to get the money, to get the profit from it. And I understand Paul Walker's reasons, to stop those gangs, which I enjoy that. And I love that he's a good guy. He's a good guy. This is a decent guy. He's a good guy. He's a hero in the story. And Paul Walker did a fantastic job acting-wise. Vin Diesel did a great job acting this movie. And Rob Cohen, he also later directed Triple X with Vin Diesel. And later, he also directed Daylight. He directed other movies. I can't remember which one Rob Cohen directed, but he directed a lot of movies. And the Fast and Furious was really good ones. And I really enjoyed that. He knows I can box. So check it out. It's like this. If I lose, winner takes my car. No. If I lose, winner takes my car, clean and clear. But if I win, I take the cash and I take the respect, which I love that. That's so decent when Paul Walker says, but if I win, I take the cash and I take the respect. I love that. Or I love the line when I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Nothing else matters. Not the mortgage, not the store, not my team and all that bullshit. For those 10 seconds or less, I'm free. Which I love that. I just love that. Great line. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning, which I love that. But I just love that, the lines that I actually love, especially when the first race, when Brian shows up, and says he knows I can box. So check it out. It's like this. If I lose, winner takes my car, clean and clear. But if I win, I take the cash and I take the respect. And I take the respect. Some people is respect important, which I love that. I love the lines. And I actually really enjoy. It's a really good movie. The movie that started. I really like this film. But yeah. Also the music was by BT, which is a really good one. Only I don't agree with the back, as rated R is actually not rated R, it's PG-13. But I really enjoyed the Fast and the Furious. I really had fun watching this film again. But that's my review on the Fast and the Furious, the first one in the series. I forgot to mention, I will review all 10 movies. All 10 movies I will review. I was planning to do the reviews, but I actually kind of postponed reviews for end of January. So we'll see you in the next sequel, Too Fast, Too Furious, which is the sequel that I really enjoy more than the first one, but that's just me. So take care. I'm out. Peace, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.